The housing market just may be worse than you think. I've been serving the housing market in one way or another since 1989, and I've been through a lot of ups and downs and many turbulent economic times, and I have never seen anything like this. Currently, the market is terrible for buyers, sellers, tenants, and in this case, landlords too. And in this video, I'll explain why. Okay, first up, let's talk to you buyers. We're still seeing record low inventory and all-time high prices. Now, housing inventory has been way low even just before the pandemic. However, since receiving huge stimulus and watching rates go to record lows with not just mortgage rates, but consumer debt as well, like credit cards, car loans, things of that nature, cheap money really did create the perfect economic storm. For a while, everything was booming. The stock market was booming, the housing market, the automobile industry was even booming. At the same time, we were paying low fuel prices and we were being headhunted with big sign-on bonuses just to skip from one employer to the next to fill an empty job. All the while, Americans were taking that extra money and spending it like it was no tomorrow. Housing is still at critically low inventory levels. As of 2019, home inventory was low at about 3 months of supply. Now, just so that you understand, anything less than 6 months of supply is considered a seller's housing market. And to give you an idea of just how bad the inventory levels are today, in my mid-Atlantic region, the current home inventory is sitting at about 1.5 months of supply. Now, the good news is that's up 17% from just a year ago, but that's still way too low of an inventory level to be a healthy buyer's market. With the low inventories, there just isn't a whole lot to choose from. Many wannabe home buyers just can't afford the inventory that's out there. And for the houses that would be considered affordable, they're just distressed and in very bad quality. And in a lot of cases, the house that's affordable doesn't even qualify or pass the safety inspection for a home buyer to get a mortgage. And the sellers of these distressed properties don't have the money to make the necessary repairs before putting it on the market. Simply put, the move-in ready homes are still way overpriced and unaffordable for most home buyers. And one of the reasons why home prices soared was because mortgage rates have been historically low. Some buyers took advantage of 2.74% 30-year fixed-rate mortgages, and that's never been seen before. Now, looking at this chart nationwide from the third quarter of 2019 through the third quarter of 2022, median sales prices of houses jumped 42.9%. From $318,400 to $454,900. What in the world jumps in prices like this and doesn't have major financial repercussions later? And now with the Fed more than doubling the rates since just a year ago, I think it's fair to say that the Fed has officially crash-landed the housing market. The Fed has raised interest rates at such a rapid rate that it has literally halted housing sales across the nation. It has been reported that home contract signings are down more than 30% in September from September 1 year ago. And I believe that once October's data is released, it will be worse than that. Buyers simply can't afford the new payment requirements with the current home prices. One of the reasons is because housing is not the only life's essential that has become more expensive. And we haven't had enough wage growth for everything else to work out financially. And now we're financing things like gas and our groceries with high interest credit cards. And for many of us to afford a mortgage today and to keep up with the hike in housing cost alone, you may have needed your salary to increase 13% a year for the last 3 years. And let me know, has your salary gone up 13% a year? You can drop it in the comments below. Let me take a minute to say, guys, I really appreciate you watching my videos. I'm a real estate broker here in Maryland, and I try to bring you the most up-to-date real estate information and commentary available for you today. If you haven't already done so, if you could take a minute and just hit that subscribe and alert bell, it will keep you informed. Now I want to take a minute and show you how you can determine the home affordability in your state. I'll show you what's going on in my state of Maryland. And then you'll understand what to look for in determining your state's home affordability index. A housing affordability index, or also known as HA or HAI, is an index that predicts the financial ability of a typical family residing in a state to qualify for a mortgage loan on a typical home given that month's mortgage rate and the jurisdiction's median home price and median income. An index above 100 indicates that a median income household has more than enough income to qualify for a mortgage loan on a median priced home. In Maryland, the index of housing affordability for repeat and first-time home buyers decreased to 95.9 between March and June of this year. This signals a drop of 32.6% since June of 2021. For just first-time home buyers, the affordability dropped to 61.8, a low we haven't seen in my state since 2007. Now, when I said that there was a housing crash coming back in April of this year, was anyone else looking at this kind of data? Especially when they said that I was crazy and that you better hurry up and continue to buy now because home prices were never going to drop. Now, since this data was published back in June, I believe the Housing Affordable Index may have gotten even worse because back in June, the mortgage rates weren't as high as they are now. On June 2nd, the average 30-year fixed rate mortgage was somewhere around 5.9%. And today, they're sitting at about 7.8%. So if you're financing a $400,000 mortgage today, your payment, principal and interest alone is about $2,879 a month. And in June, just 5 months ago, your payment would have been about $509 a month less on that same $400,000 mortgage. To put this into a different kind of perspective, today that same mortgage would cost you about $6,072 more a year. And a year ago, that same mortgage at 3% would have cost you $1,193 less per month, or $14,316 less per year. And I hate to break it to you, but rates may even be headed higher. So now let's talk about the sellers. You're stuck. Headline news, after all, are basically telling buyers that they're a fool if they buy now, stating the housing market has gone from bad to worse. Housing prices slide. Housing market predicted to decrease in value. New data suggests serious real estate correction. And the Fed himself, Jay Powell, has said that a major housing correction is necessary. Some economists are now saying that housing prices may even fall 30% or more. And with all of this in the news, coupled with the affordability crisis that most Americans are experiencing directly in their wallets, who in the world is coming to buy your home unless they see a major price correction? This is causing sellers to stop and think whether they should wait this one out and maybe see if the Fed made some kind of a mistake and will all of a sudden do an about face and drop mortgage rates again. And the fact is, guys, that inventory may not get any better because sellers, unless they have to sell right now, may stay put. I mean, after all, where are they going to move? There's very little for them to buy. And with home values being erased and high mortgage rates, home sellers are faced with the fact that they may get less of a home and pay more money for it. Now let's talk about the renters. In most cases, they're stuck renting. Housing, or in other words known as shelter inflation, is at an all-time record high. And the Fed, Jay Powell, has said that it may remain that way for quite some time. Rent increases are gobbling up any salary increases that they've received, and many of Americans are now getting second jobs just to stay afloat. Landlords, you may feel with the higher rents that you've escaped all of this trouble, but just because you're asking for higher rents doesn't mean you're going to get it. You see, a lot of your tenants are struggling to pay their rent now, and with the holidays ahead, travel and buying presents may require them to overspend and get into even more debt. The additional spending might cause them to fall behind in their rents. And historically, times get tight this time of year, and most tenants are looking for their tax returns in the spring to get them caught up. Not to mention, before the holiday spending, these renters have already been stressed with rent increases, and we've been seeing a lot of renters move back home with their parents and in some cases their grandparents in order to financially survive. Guys, I'd like to bring you some good news on our economy and the housing market, but for the time being, I think we're in for a financially turbulent ride. If you appreciate this video, you can hit the thumbs up. It'll let me know that you did. Thanks so much for watching the video. See you next time.
Sachs Realty, Maryland broker number 607720, office number 443-318-4514, equal housing opportunity.